What to do when resistance holds you back from getting what it is you want. Keep watching. This is Life Mastery Gym. I'm Damon and I teach people just like you cutting edge NLP processes and techniques so that you can master your life and take charge of your destiny. So if that sounds good, make sure you click that subscribe button right down here so you can get these videos on a regular basis. What I'm giving you here is a process that I use for myself. I have used for many years. I continue to use, and I also use with my clients to help them achieve what it is that they want rapidly. So in the first video, I went into this whole process. If you haven't seen the first video, it is linked to this video. I highly recommend that you stop this video, go watch that first video, then come back to this one. If you have seen the first video, let's jump right into this. And remember, if you have a comment or a question, make sure you put it down right here. And as I mentioned on the first video, in the description, you will find a link. That link will take you to the registration for a live 3-part webinar that we're doing next week. It is interactive. We take all of this and go much, much deeper. So you want to make sure that you sign up for that. Quick recap. So we talked about a goal, how it's not really the goal that you want. It's because you believe that this will help you fulfill some sort of deeper, higher value that most people never access. It's in your unconscious, but once you do that, once you elicit your values for a goal and you bring those values into your consciousness, this gives you instant motivation. As long as you stay connected to those values, you will never quit, though the goal may change, which is not a bad thing, because you don't want to work for years to achieve something only to realize it doesn't fulfill you. This is the indication. Your values let you know what will fulfill you and what will not fulfill you. The goal is rather arbitrary for the most part, which actually makes it easier to achieve once you understand this. And not everything is riding just on the goal. Also, knowing what your deeper values are makes you much more flexible. You create multiple strategies, not just one. Another problem that people have is the overemphasis of a particular strategy because they don't understand all of this. When that strategy fails, it feels like everything collapses and they don't know what to do. They're clueless and they often quit and they feel low self-worth and things like, I'm not good enough. I'm not motivated enough. And all that's just really not true. It's just, you need to understand this. You need to have an effective strategy, but more than one effective strategy, and hold them loosely. They're dispensable. Throw strategies away. They either work or they don't. And last but not least, part of getting clear about what it is that you want is taking action. You have to get the feedback. You have to put something out there to get the feedback to know what's working for you and what is not. And the great thing about clarity is the more clear you are about what it is that you want, the easier it is to achieve, the more motivated it is that you are to achieve it, and the more it will feel like you naturally bring it into your life without even really trying. Of course, we do try a lot, and we do need to work at this. I don't want to come off as like, oh, you just sit around and do nothing, just get clear. That doesn't work. You have to take action in order to get clear. And then when you get clear about what it is you want, you will see those opportunities and you won't even have to think about them. You will just do it and you will make it happen. So clarity is super important. Now we're going to talk about overcoming resistance, because what a lot of people will say is like, yeah, okay, yeah, I understand all this, Damon. I've done something similar to this before, but I keep sabotaging myself, or I'm afraid of success, which is not true. Nobody's afraid of success. That's a different video. But trust me on that, you are not afraid of success. You might be afraid of change, and that might be why you are experiencing resistance. And what it might feel like is you have weight pulling on you. Ball and chain, however you want to think about it, but it feels like it's pulling you back, or maybe you don't know what it is, it's just holding you back. And we can call these limiting beliefs. We can call this resistance. When you have deeply held limiting beliefs, sometimes we have to do some processes or a particular process called re-imprinting in NLP to go really deep and unplug that limiting belief. But a lot of times it's not that deep. It's more about there are other parts of you that are trying to fulfill values, positive intents, trying to achieve certain states for you. And when you introduce a new goal, sort of like an ecosystem, you're introducing this new idea, we're going to go and achieve this. Well, these other parts that are unconscious and most of the time isolated from the rest of you, and that's another video there that I could go into why that happens, but that's not really what this video is about. But these other parts might feel threatened and say, well, wait a minute, if we're going to go for this, then I can't do the job that you gave me 10 years ago to fulfill this particular value. So this happens a lot. And so people say, yeah, I got started, I was on my way, and I just felt like I couldn't keep going. There was resistance, or I didn't believe in it anymore, or I wasn't motivated anymore. So we got to find out what this resistance is about. Now, what do people mostly do when they experience resistance? It doesn't feel very pleasant, so we resist it. We resist resistance. How do you think that plays out? Not very well, because if you're resisting resistance, you're fighting against yourself, you're expending more energy that's not helping you get to this, and it divides your focus, divides your attention. You get frustrated, and then you burn yourself out, and then you quit. So we don't want to do that. So when we feel resistance, it might seem counterintuitive or contradictory. Welcome that resistance. That resistance is just another part of you. It's another part of you, and every part of you is valid. So we don't want to get rid of it. We don't want to amputate it. That's like saying, oh, when I try to stick to a diet, I overeat. And it's always my right hand that brings the food to my mouth. I'm going to cut off my right hand so it won't happen anymore. Of course, we know that would be silly. But that's just as silly as trying to get rid of whatever part of you is resisting. This is a valid part of you. And in that part of you, which is likely isolated, or many resources that you're not utilizing because you're disconnected from this part of you. So what do? We go to that resistance, we welcome it, just like we would welcome a guest in our home. And we say, okay, what are you trying to tell me? And I actually talk like this to my parts. And when I work with clients exactly like this, I say, okay, what is it you're trying to tell me? What is the message you're trying to give me? And I listen. And it doesn't always come out as like a clear voice saying whatever it is. It could come out in a lot of different ways, but it's usually just kind of an insight like, well, I don't want X to happen. And that's how a lot of times this resistance will come up. It's more of like a defensive push away, move away. I don't want. And a lot of times what it's about is I don't want you to fail. I don't want you to be disappointed. I don't want you to be frustrated. I don't want you to be hurt. So already we realize this is a valid part of you. It's just trying to keep you from experiencing pain and suffering. So we can then say to that part, okay, if I understand we don't want that, what do we want instead? So if I don't want disappointment, pain, hurt, you name it, what do I want instead? Well, maybe I want to feel good about myself. Hey, that's good. That's a positive intent. Okay, well, what's important about that? So you do a values elicitation on the positive intent. And by the way, another word for positive intent is value. So we say, okay, this is what the resistance is doing. We know what it doesn't want. We get it stated in the positive by saying, well, what do you want? It's like walking into a store. The store clerk walks up to you and says, can I help you? And you say, yeah. And the store clerk says, okay, well, what are you looking for? And you tell the store clerk what you're not looking for. I'm not looking for garbage bags. And the store clerk will say, okay, well, what is it you're looking for? And you say, well, I'm not looking for toilet paper. The clerk's going to be like, okay, we're going to have to do this for every single item in the store before we locate what it is that you want. But that's how a lot of people are actually going after what it is they want. They're doing it through the filter or the lens of what it is that they don't want. And you're not going to get anywhere like that. So always get things stated in the positive. So once we know what is the root cause of this resistance, which is a positive intent, and then we can elicit that value, which is going to look a lot like these over here. So what happens when you chunk up? We know what our higher values are from the resistance, and we realize we're coming up with things like freedom again, happiness, joy. We're like, wow, this all comes from the resistance, the thing that I was resisting, the resistance that I was resisting. At its root is this. Well, what can I do with this? You can do a lot with that. So let's say that's what your resistance is really about. How well do you think this would fit in with your overall vision of what it is you're trying to accomplish? It probably fits very well, and it fits very easily. And you don't have to push it. You don't have to push against resistance. You don't have to fight against resistance. It lines up already with what it is you're trying to achieve with this goal. So what do you think happens when you remove all of any resistance you might have to achieving this, and not only remove it, you integrate it into what it is that you want. You become super motivated. You become super motivated to achieve this. In fact, this is just like a stepping stone. There's going to be a whole lot more. Now you're creating a vision of what it is that you want. This becomes extraordinarily powerful. Now think about that. If you remove all the resistance, and not only that, you take all that energy and all of what that was about, and now it becomes an ally instead of something that's working against you, and you incorporate it, you integrate it into all of this, is anything going to stop you from getting this? I don't think so. So you become like a slingshot, like you pull it back and you've got all that drive, and then you let go and you're off. You are flying directly at this. Now, again, all the same processes occur. Your strategy doesn't work. You throw the strategy out. You find another strategy. You have to take action. You cannot work this all out on paper. You need to be taking action. You need to be doing something so that you can get that feedback to bounce back and give you that information so you can keep making the adjustments you need to make until you fully get here. Now, in the next video, we're going to take this a whole lot further. So part 3 of this is we take this into the stratosphere. You think this was good? Wait till you see video 3. Like I said earlier in this video, if you want to take this deeper through a free interactive webinar that takes place next week, it's a 3-part webinar. You want to make sure you get in now. The link is in the description, so click that link, enroll now before these spots fill up. And if you're watching this video later, after that webinar has already passed, make sure you still go down into that description and take a look at whatever it is that we're offering you there. We will offer you something. If you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, make sure you click that subscribe button and the bell so you'll be notified not only when this next video, part 3, comes out, but you'll be notified when other future videos come out as well. Last but not least, if you can think of a friend or a family member who would benefit from this video, make sure you share it with them. Take care.